Well, good morning, folks. Thanks so much for joining me here on another video. Well, today we're going to look at roof sheathing, and just that term is interesting because I was a bit confused. Is it roof sheeting, as in like a bed sheet, or roof sheathing? And what I can best determine is roof sheathing. So the main two choices I looked at to sheathe my roof was OSB, like this stuff here, and plywood. And one thing about OSB, I know that unless you buy really quality water-resistant stuff, like it's on my floor, it can get a little saggy if it gets damp, and I didn't want that on a roof. Plywood can separate and have a bit of a problem if it's exposed to water for a long time. But I have no intention of having my plywood exposed to water for long, and so I thought that would be a good choice. Now that we've done our subfascia and have got that on all over the building, we're going to concentrate on putting the roof on, and we'll start with plywood sheathing. So we've got our plywood sheathing here. Now we have to get it up on the roof, and so that's going to present a bit of a challenge. It's awkward. They're 4x8 sheets, and they're quite heavy, actually, heavier than the OSB. That's a good thing because that means they're sturdy. They're not wet per se, but definitely heavy. So got to figure out how to get them up there. So I've seen a few folks that were doing solo builds put on their sheathing on the roof all by themselves with no help. And I saw two methods. One, the guy had a tractor with a big bucket, and he just created a jig on the front of the bucket for the tractor, and it raised all of his sheathing for the roof right up at the right height, so all he had to do is flip it onto the roof. That was really neat, but I don't have a tractor. The other guy I was pretty impressed. He took a ladder and tilted it up against the side of the building and just manhandled all of his sheathing by sliding it up the ladder that was leaning against the building, just heaving that stuff up there. But I should note, he looked about 35 maybe, and big, sturdy guy. So I'm sturdy, but I'm not 35. So I'm going to do a bit of a MacGyverism for this and hopefully make all this work. But there's a bit of a note of caution. It can't be done on any kind of windy days or obviously thunder and lightning. So to start off with, I've got these scrap pieces of 2x6, and I just put screws in them. And I'm going to put them about 5 feet apart from each other, and I'm going to screw them into the subfascia, which is 2x4. That'll be nice and sturdy. And it's crucial that I don't put them too high above the subfascia, because their role is just to be a bumper so that that sheet of plywood, once it's pulled up on there, gets stopped by these. So you'll see how it works once I get it going. So this is just another scrap piece of wood, and I'm putting it in here as a brace so that those two pieces of 2x6 by 16 don't spread out. So when I put up my trusses, I did that as a solo build for the most part, and I used this really handy item I made. I call it a pulley board. So essentially it's designed to fasten up high wherever you are working on the roof, and then hang pulleys from both ends. And I'm putting it up really high, and there's a reason for that. I've found that when you use the pulley system, the further you are away from what you're trying to pull up, it seems to be easier. Okay, one quick clamp on. Now for the ropes. So I've already made a loop about the size of a piece of plywood. So I'll pull that in there. Arizona has more lightning strikes than any state except for Florida, I think. Out you go. And jackpot. So I want to make sure that I'm consistent throughout this build and put the same side up every time when it comes to this plywood. And that reminds me, any of you folks that are construction guys that want to comment, does it make a difference which side is up when it comes to using this on your roof? And if it does, kindly mention why. So I'm putting the smooth side facing the sky is what I'm doing. So hope that's right. Here we go. There we go. Okay, now we're going to go inside where it's safe and give her a heave-ho, see if it'll work. All right, let's try this and see how we do. So I'm just doing it real gradually, a little bit at a time. You have to be patient with this method. And now I'm using the quick clamps to secure my first rope. There we go. Now come over on this side. So our yellow rope is secured on the other side of the building with a quick clamp. Of course, this all goes a little bit faster when you're not filming, but it is great to see how it's all done, and I wanted to share with all of you how this works. So at this stage, I'm really tempted, of course, to give it a big heave-ho, and that'll flip it entirely up on top of the roof. But I've learned the hard way that results in mixed success. So the best way is just to climb up the ladder, grab the part that's just protruding that I can get a hold of, and give it a final pull onto its home on top of the roof. So let's do that. I'm going to have to do a little bit of arm wrestling with him to make sure he goes in place. And the trick here, because you're on a ladder and you're stable, but a ladder is a ladder and you have to be careful. So I just tend to wrestle with him a little bit at a time, because again, safety is the main concern when you're working with this stuff by yourself. Oh yeah, and as they say, don't try this at home. Yeah. The plywood I chose was really not rated for roof sheathing, and it was more designed for cabinets and that type of thing. It's the minimum thickness, and it's going to be covered up really, really, really well, as you'll see in future videos. So if you think that what I chose is adequate, or you would have chosen something different, leave that in the comments below. Thanks. because we're good enough, we're smart enough, and doggone it, people like us. So plywood, when it gets damp, can expand, and then of course in the bright sun can shrink a bit too. So you have to allow for that. And so you put a bit of a gap between those sheets. In this case, it's actually a horizontal gap. And I use these guys. These are Simpson strong tie spacers. So right now is a good time for me to wiggle a couple of those spacers in, of course, before I do the final positioning of the sheet of roofing plywood and screw it down. So these can be a little kooky to work with, but what I found is if you lift your piece up a bit, and don't put it all the way in, just leave it flexible. There we go, look at that. And I'm not worried that it's not tight here yet, because once it's in its position, then I can make adjustments by tapping the sheet of plywood back and forth however much I need. So that's one side down. I normally do two. Now there's a nice space here to allow for expansion and contraction of the wood. There we go. And to hold those 4x8 sheets in place on the roof and attach them to the trusses, I'm going to be using these Simpson strong tie 2-inch screws. And I like the fact that they're in a row, and I can just easily go down the row and pop those in, and it works really well. Okay, now that the spacing is correct, we can just put a couple screws in here to hold things, because the main screwing has to be done from the roof surface, as in I have to be right on top of the roof to do that. So we will just tack this corner down as well, just enough so that things are good and the wind don't take things away. There, we'll screw this down really nicely later on, but right now it's a little too nerve-wracking. I'm seeing a little too much thunder and lightning. So safety says get off the roof when there's lightning. Okay, Murphy's Law. One little tiny gap between the two pieces of subfascia, and that's where the rope found itself, meaning now it's jammed and I can't move my piece of 4x8 sheet of plywood further up, even though it's almost there. So we're going to have to rectify that. There we go. Let's try to heave-ho again. Whoa. That one was a real orangutan. A lot of them have gone up pretty smooth, but it's just a roll of the dice with this stuff. You know, it's not a perfected engineering method. So, but I'm super thankful to have it up there. I've only got a couple more sheets and the whole roof will be done. Amazing. Back at it. That went up the smoothest of any I've ever put up. And go figure, it's the very last big piece I have to put on the roof. I think I got better and better at it as time went on. Any method that works is going to be happy days as far as I'm concerned. So now we'll just try to find this guy a home. And I think if I just push him to my north a bit, nice. All I got to do is tack it in place lightly tonight, and then I'll go up there and do some heavy-duty fastening of things tomorrow morning. Well, putting on this roof for me was super important because of all the monsoon rains we were getting, and I just wanted to get this dried in as fast as I could. But even though I wanted to get this done quickly, I knew it had to be done really methodically and as safely as I could, and so it's gone extremely well, and we're wrapping it up and looking forward to maybe finishing this entire roofing project tomorrow. So I'm going to get a good night's sleep. I sleep pretty well these days. And hit it again tomorrow. So this is another video with the goal of moving forward with progress videos to show you what's been going on here. And as always, I really appreciate all of you watching and all the lovely kind comments. Honestly, they really lift my spirits, and I really appreciate them. So now I better take a moment to thank some folks for some gifts, and let's see what's going on here. Well, first, this is a belated thank you. I got this gift, a few weeks ago, actually now. It was a $200 Visa gift card, and that was from my subscriber, Chuck. So, Chuck, I used the card already, and I really thank you for it. So, I didn't forget about you, and I wanted to make sure you knew how much I appreciated it. So naturally, in these hot days, it's important to stay hydrated, and one of my favorite drinks is Gatorade, and Steve B., one of my subscribers, sent me this nice big container, and I go through these pretty quickly, but anyway, this will keep me going for a little while, and I really appreciate that, Steve. And Steve also sent me some oatmeal, so I'm enjoying that for breakfast, so thanks so much. Well, the monsoons are finally dissipating, which I have mixed feelings about. I really appreciate all the rain, but it takes a lot of stress away worrying about completing the roof. So, lots of projects to keep you all updated on. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when more progress videos show up. And I so appreciate all of you being here. Thanks again. See you on the next video.